swearing-in ceremony, and if everybody would have a seat, and I would like to invite the board members to be sworn in, Mrs. Bowen, Mrs. Livingston, and Mr. Ikenosho, if you'll come forward, and Clerk of Court, how's that, is here, and she will proceed with the swearing-in ceremony.
State your name.
I, Mark Ikenosho,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, and that I will faithfully discharge my duties as a member of the Lee County Board of Education to the best of my ability, so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. And Mark, if you'll sign all copies.
Mark, you come this way.
Sandra Bowen. And Miss Sandra informed me her husband's sitting out in the truck with the flu, so who's going to hold the Bible for Mom? Come here, Mom. You stand beside brother. You go place your left hand, raise your right. Stand right here, Sissy.
No, lift up.
I state your name.
Sandra Bowen.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, that I will be faithful, that I will faithfully discharge my duties as a member of the Lee County Board of Education to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. Congratulations. Sandra, you can do this and then we'll just do this one.
Can we go sit down? Sit down with your brothers. Thank you.
Last but not least, Miss Ophelia Livingston. Livingston. We need to get, I thought it was Livingston. Raise your right. I don't want your back to the camera. Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. I state your name.
Ophelia Livingston.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, that I will faithfully discharge my duties as a member of the Lee County Board of Education to the best of my ability, so help you God.
I will.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to get all three of them up here together?
Sure. Picture? Picture.
And I'll let y'all get up there. Sit down a minute.
I want to do this. There we go. Thank you.
One more.
Thank you. Right, Lynn.
And now that we're finished with the business portion of this, the reception is open. Please join us for food and drink.
Each year, the Board of Education reorganizes itself to choose a chair and vice chair. At this time, I'd like to take nominations for the office of chair, Lee County Board of Education.
Superintendent, I'd like to make a nomination for Dr. Lynn Smith as chair of Lee County Board of Education.
Second.
Dr. Lynn Smith has been nominated. A second, Mr. Cameron Sharp. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close nominations?
I make a motion we close nominations for chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of closing nominations, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? At this time, I'd like to take a vote. Dr. Lynn Smith has been nominated as chair of the Lee County Board of Education. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Dr. Smith, congratulations.
And with that, I will open the nominations for vice chair. Is there a nomination for vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mark Akinosha for vice chair.
Mr. Akinosho has been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there further nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
I make a motion that we close nomination for vice chair.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that nominations be closed. All those in favor of Mr. Akinosho for vice chair of Lee County Board of Education, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Mr. Akinosho is our new vice chair. Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you.
And I certainly want to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as your chairman for the coming year. And I also want to welcome our new board members, Mrs. Livingston and Mrs. Bowen, and certainly congratulate Mr. Akinosho on his reelection. I also want to compliment the previous board for working digitally to improve the educational opportunities of our students and for the progress made by our students. I do believe we've made substantial progress in the past 2 years. However, I got up this morning and I read the Sanford Herald, and there was a letter to the editor that I think shapes and defines our role as a Board of Education for the next 2 years. The writer lists the problems facing Lee County residents and includes the statement on education, and I quote, "We need a resurrection of the tattered and bleeding school system." Now, that seems to connote several things to me. First of all, a resurrection assumes somebody's dead. I don't think this board and this school system is dead, and I certainly don't think we're tattered, and I certainly don't think we're bleeding. But I think the letter identifies our role as a board. We must be totally transparent in every action we take. We must continue to advocate for our students, and we certainly must renew our efforts to inform the public of our successes. I think this board is more than up to this task, and I look forward to sharing these duties for the next 2 years. There are no public comments, so we can move right along to the Lee County mission and ethics statement. Our mission, of course, Lee County Schools will teach each student the social and academic skills needed to become a responsible and productive citizen. We must also be aware and be vigilant of the code of ethics that we all sign. We must avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of a conflict of interest as we handle the work of the board. We must avoid the solicitation and or acceptance of gifts in return for advice or assistance on matters concerning the operation of the business of the board. We must avoid the misuse of public funds, avoid misrepresentation or falsification of facts, and avoid making confidential information public. At this point, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I want to move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. The motion carries to approve the agenda. I would also entertain a motion to approve the minutes for November 10th and November 24th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 10th, 2014 and November 24th, 2014.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on our minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. Let's now proceed with our audit report. Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Education members. With us tonight is Dale Smith. He's a partner with Anderson, Smith & White, CPA accounting firm, and he is going to present our audit for the fiscal year 2013-2014.
Hold that. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm afraid I won't be able to hold that and read and do what I've got to do. Good evening, everyone. We appreciate you allowing our firm to perform the board's audit for the year ended June 30th, 2014. Has everyone got a copy of our report? Yes. Copy?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. We won't be going through the entire report, but we will be looking at a few pages that I think are of most interest to you. We'd like to just start out by saying that the audit went very smoothly this year. When we came in, the books and records were found to be in excellent order. And on page 1 of the report that we issued is our financial statement audit opinion letter. And it is a clean, unmodified opinion, and that is exactly what you want to receive. And basically what that means is that we feel as though all of the amounts and information that's presented in the report is reliable and free from any material misstatement. Now, pages 3 through 9, I believe, of the report are what's called the Management's Discussion and Analysis section. And we won't go into any detail tonight on those pages, but I would just recommend that when you have time, if you hadn't read through it already, that you do read through those pages. It provides a very good narrative overview of the district's operating results for last year. But if you would, let's turn over to page 12, and we'll look at the district's governmental fund balances as of June 30th, 2014. And this page shows the balance sheets for governmental funds. It includes everything except the Child Nutrition Fund, which we'll look at separately. And we'll be focusing on the first column, which is your general fund. And this page shows the total assets, liabilities, and fund balance. And we'll be looking at those three amounts for the general fund. So starting at the top, your total assets at June 30th, 2014 were $3,851,837. And that amount was primarily made up of cash and cash equivalents, which is the first number that you see there of $3,410,065. Now the next section is your liabilities, and they totaled $1,181,418 at the end of the year. Now assets minus liabilities equals your fund balance at year end. And that total is the next to last number that you see in that first column, which was $2,670,419. And that amount is made up of the four numbers that you see above there. And starting with the $430,000, which is considered non-spendable fund balance, it's comprised of inventories. And you'll see that same dollar amount up at the top under your assets. And the state does not allow school districts to budget fund balances in the form of inventory. They only allow you to budget what's actually in the form of cash in the bank. So they consider that to be non-spendable or non-appropriable fund balance. And the next item, stabilization by state statute 101-692, and that amount's comprised of accounts receivable and of encumbrances outstanding at June 30th, 2014. And that gets us down to the amount that is assigned for subsequent years' expenditures, the $1,248,049. And what that amount represents is the amount of fund balance that the district has budgeted to balance its fiscal year 14-15 budget, which is the year that you're currently in. Okay, and that leaves the district with an unassigned fund balance of $890,591. And that's the amount of fund balance that the district has that it can appropriate further in the current year or in the following year. Ideally, we would like to see that number be a little higher. It represents about 5.78% of the district's operating expenditures in the general fund. And I think ideally you'd like to see that number maybe be in the 10 to 15% range. And y'all have done a good job the past few years of not having to use the amount that y'all appropriated, like the $1,248,049. But just to put it in perspective, if you did use this $1,248,049, if y'all spent that amount of fund balance,
you wouldn't have enough fund balance remaining to spend that again the following year. You would be down to having just this $890,591. So, again, ideally we'd like to see that number be a little bit higher. You never know when some kind of an unforeseen emergency may arise. You need a new roof, a new boiler, state budget cuts. You never know when the state's going to, in mid-year, cut your budget. It'd be nice to be able to have fund balance in your general fund to fall back on to keep services at the same level that you had planned to have them at. Okay, does anyone have any questions about this page? If you would turn over to page 20, and we'll look at the district's school food service results of operations for 2014. On June 30th, 2014, the bottom number that you see on this page is the net position. The district ended the year with $1,717,082 of net position or fund balance, another way of looking at that, in its school food service fund. Now, if you go 2 numbers above that, you'll see a line called change in net position, and it was a negative $80,299. So it's basically a loss of net position that the district incurred for the year ended June 30th, 2014. And that's actually a big improvement over the amount of loss that was incurred in this program in the year ended June 30th, 2013, which was a loss of about $152,000. And that improvement was primarily related to a reduction in food costs during the year ended June 30th, 2014. So, it looks like the program is headed in the right direction. The losses are getting smaller. But we would recommend that you continue to try to get that program back to a break-even status. Okay, any questions on the school food service program? Okay. And starting on page 45 of the report is the first of 3 letters that we issued related to our compliance testing procedures. We perform an extensive amount of payroll and general expenditure testing related to the district's state and federal grants that it receives. And all 3 of these letters are clean, unmodified reports. We didn't note any internal control related findings. There were no specific compliance findings that we reported that could result in the district having to repay any state or federal grant funds. So again, overall, the compliance testing part of the audit went very well, and we were very happy with what we saw. Did anyone have a question on anything out of that section? Okay, that was pretty much all I had planned to cover. Again, in summary, we were very happy with what we saw during the audit. There were no real areas of concern noted. I'd like to thank Mr. Stevens and his staff for their hard work. We audit quite a few districts across the state, and y'all really do have a very well-run finance department. There's a lot of things that they do behind the scenes that y'all don't see, especially that pertains to the state funding that y'all get. That money's allotted in a very unusual way in the form of position allotments, and it takes a lot of effort to spend those allotments down and maximize the dollars that the Board of Education gets, and your finance staff does an excellent job of doing that, as good as anywhere we go in the state. Like I said, they deserve to be commended for that effort, because it is a lot of hard work. Does anyone have any questions at all?
I just want to say, as the chair of the finance, to say thank you for your work, and it's been a joy working with your firm, and I just feel like the same presentation you made to us at the finance committee was excellent presentation, and I just want to say thank you for what you do for us, and I also want to commend our finance department for excellent work that they do, that we don't have to be worrying about what they do all the time. So thank you, Mark.
Dr. Smith, if I may add one thing, just like to echo everybody's, Mark and the staff do a wonderful job. The food services loss I think it's reflective of this board's position that they're not going to raise meal costs for folks. And this board has taken a very strong stance in relation to that, and I certainly commend them for that, maintaining food prices at the same price for our students and parents, and trying to maintain that. Well, obviously we've gotten more efficient with that, so we'll keep working on it.
And the program, it's got about $1.1 million in the bank, so it's got a good cushion to absorb some losses. So. Any other questions?
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Let's proceed with the chairman's report. Mr. Akanosho and I have spent time talking with everybody, I think, on the board about committee assignments, and I have those completed, and I've just given them to Mrs. Britt. She will get those out tomorrow, and that's particularly important because we have a meeting of the Policy Committee on the 16th of December and a meeting of the Facilities and Technology Committee on the 18th. So that list should go out tomorrow, so everybody will have plenty of advance time in preparing for those committee meetings. And I saw Christine Womble. She's gone.
She had to leave.
She had to leave. And we have not discussed the head of the class project here at the board, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention the fact that J. Glenn Edwards School was the winner of the head of the class award. The entire faculty and staff, and especially the students, are being commended for their achievement, which of course is the second year in a row that Edwards has won that award. I think it's particularly important that the head of the class project is made possible by the Education Foundation, and we are in their debt for their generosity and their leadership in making that happen, particularly because, to my knowledge, it's the only successful merit pay program which financially awards staff and faculty for their success. That's an ongoing successful program, not only in the state, but I think maybe nationally. We can now proceed with the superintendent's report.
I'd like to ask Dr. Jim Atkinson to come forward, please, for the Clean School of the Month.
I'd like to say good evening again to all of you. And again, it's always an honor and a pleasure to bring good news to the board. And this is one such occasion. We have in our scores this month for the Clean School of the Month award, we have 9 schools that scored at least 96 or above. And I was teasing the maintenance department yesterday as far as the white glove test that they use when they go around to the schools. But we congratulate all of our schools. But tonight we're going to honor Miss Amy Petroctor and her staff at Greenwood. So if she would come up, I'd appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you. I need my staff to come up. We have 2 of our staff members here tonight. Ms. Brown is our head custodian, and Mr. Collins is part of our team, and we have 2 others. And this was our first month back at full staff, and very, very proud of these folks. They're not better people that you could work with. We appreciate that maintenance and that the board and that everyone is supportive of a little spirited competition amongst the schools for this award. It's very important to me as the administrator of the school that our students come into a clean, healthy environment every day, and that's completely on these people because they require no direction from me. They're very motivated to provide that for our students, and I could not ask for a better team. It's been at our school several times. Some people already commented they're getting tired of seeing us, but we will keep coming back because we are very proud of that honor. We are. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
want you guys to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Smith, I have one additional item. Follow up from our last meeting. I had a brief meeting with the county manager regarding undocumented, unaccompanied youth. But we have not been able to have additional conversations because another topic has sort of taken top priority for Mr. Crumpton with the coal ash issue. So I feel like I need to let him sort of move forward with that.
In that case, let's continue with committee reports. Curriculum instruction, Tamara Brogan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For curriculum instruction, we had 2 meetings since our last board meeting. We had the elementary school curriculum instruction meeting, and that was on November 12th at Ingram Elementary School. And that day we went over the elementary school improvement plans from all the elementary schools, and it went very, very well. We also talked about Broadway and their Avid visit and how well that went. And we talked about iReady that we have purchased recently, the reading and recently just the math. So that was what we talked about that day. We also had a high school curriculum instruction committee meeting on December 3rd. At that meeting, we went over the high school improvement plans for the high schools. And we also talked about Lee County High School's IB visit and how well that went. And we talked about NAF and how things are moving forward, planning for next year with NAF. And those are the topics we talked about at the high school curriculum instruction meeting. Our next elementary school curriculum instruction meeting will be January 21st at Greenwood, and the next high school meeting will be February 4th at Lee County High School. That's my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Brogan. Facilities and technology, Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our meeting was held on November 25th, and we looked at some intercom bids for several schools, and we also looked at our 5-year capital improvement plan and prioritized our wishes. And that's really the only 2 things we talked about. And then Dr. Bryan presented John Bernardi with a plaque for his services. And our next meeting is set for December 18th.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Finance, Mr. Akinosho.
For Finance Committee, we have no meeting last month because they're working on the budget right now, and all the principals are submitting, and the directors are working on bringing their budget together. So we will not have meeting in December also. Our next meeting will be in January.
Thank you, Mr. Akinosho. And Mr. Sharp, I hate to ask you to do double duty, but would you report on policy again, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We had no policy committee meeting in November, and the next meeting is scheduled for December 16th. And also tonight we have about 50 on for second reading, and I won't read them out of place.
But it's entertaining when you do.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Sharp.
read them tonight, if you want me to.
Moving on, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Under unfinished business, the board policies are up for second reading. Mr. Sharp, would you care to make that motion, please?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Brogan.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the second reading of the following policies. Take a deep breath here. Okay, here we go. 1300, 1310/4002, 1320/3560, 1500, 1510/2400/7270, 1700, 1710/4021/7230, 1720/4015/7225, 3210, 3220, 3225/4312/7320, 3320, 3410, 3420, 3460, 3515, 4050, 4120, 4202/5029/7272, 4335, 4400, 4540, 5024/6127/7266, 5070, 70/7350, 5120, 6200, 6210, 6220, 6225, 6230, to delete 6235, 6340, 6545/7265, 7100, 7405, 7420, 7422, 7425, 7510, 7540, 7635, 7820, 7950, 9020, 9115, 9120, and 9220.
You may take a deep breath.
Okay. Woo.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the foregoing policies on second reading. You think I was going to read them again? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The list of policies is approved. There is, there is. Under new business, we have the 2015-2016 calendars. Mr. Dietrich and Mrs. Spence.
Good evening, members of the board. Ms. Spence and I wanted to bring the calendar to you that the calendar committee developed and came up and had school discussions. Those of you new to the process, the calendar was developed. It was then sent to the calendar committee, which consists of parents, teachers, and administrators from different schools. Some meetings could be as small as 20, 30. Some could be bigger based on the numbers that we have come from each school. And this calendar committee met this year twice, and the calendars you have before you all follow the state rules and guidelines. And we present to you the 2015-16 calendars for the traditional school year, Lee Early College, and Tramway. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Any questions? In that case, is there a motion to approve the calendars as presented?
I move that Lee County Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 traditional calendar, Tramway year-round calendar, and the Lee Early College calendar on first reading.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The calendars are approved. And I did notice that on the State Board of Education's calendar, there is a motion, or there is at least they're going to discuss allowing local LEAs to determine our own schedule. So maybe next year we can do something different.
Absolutely.
And would that be nice? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll notice that Mr. Akanosho had to be excused. He is in ill. He had a very important engagement, and so he will not be with us the rest of the evening. Is there a motion for us to adjourn to closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Lee County Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of discussing information that is privileged, confidential, or not a public record under North Carolina General Statute Section 143-318.11A1.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn to closed session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We will adjourn for closed session. Thank you.
I guess I'll have to move. We'll have to separate boy, girl, or something. Can we have?
There you go. There we go.
Well, mine's on.
Now they are.
The first item of business is a motion to approve the Human Resources Report as presented.
I'll make the motion that we approve the human resources as yes,
Thank
presented.
You. Thank you, Mrs. Bowen.
Ready, Wendy? Right here you go.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the HR report as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion is approved. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting for this
Is there a
evening.
second?
Second.
I heard the second down
It's
there.
been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Okay,
We've got to separate this.
We had to do it again.